Welcome everyone to Heatcast. We are on our seventh episode, if I remember that correctly. The last one we did was with Weeby McDonald and his group, and we also had Willie Vang, President Willie Vang, on our show a couple of episodes ago. Tonight we have a very special guest. Very excited to have Pat Freeman, founder of MBT, Midwest Basketball Training, also Camp Extraordinaire, does a lot of stuff with Midwest 3-on-3, works alongside with a lot of top local high school kids that have gone on to play college hoops now. So McKinley Wright, Theo John, Brad Davison. So without further ado, welcome, Pat. How you doing?
How you doing? Super excited to be here. I tuned into the first couple episodes. I think I'm one or two behind. I think it might be just one behind now. So super excited to be here and love what you guys got going on and love all the turnout so far with the podcast. So super cool. You guys are doing a great job.
No, appreciate it. I think during this time, the biggest thing is, how can we give the people the basketball content without the actual sport being played? So, we try to get creative. We try to bring new faces to the fold. We're excited for what we have rolling out in the future. But like I said, we're excited to have you on this show tonight. So yeah, let's dive right in. MBT, man, like, I've seen what you guys are doing. Very, very excited for what you guys have going and all the good stuff that you guys have planned. Do you just want to talk to me about like how this all came about? You're pretty in deep with Midwest 3-on-3. Where did the idea for MBT come from?
For sure. So I started back when I was a junior in high school. My parents, we grew up with no cable TV, no video games, but my parents put a slab in the backyard with the hoops. So I just spent a ton of time out there in the backyard playing. And then my junior year, I started training kids. So I put together just a little flyer when I was in high school. So I've been training kids since I was 16. So like the last 15 years. And I was probably terrible the first 12 of them. So I feel for those kids. But no, I've had a lot of fun. Getting started with back in high school and then through college. And then when I worked for the Timberwolves and Lynx, I did a lot of team training. And then I've always worked with kind of like the local high school. I went to Champlin Park. So I've worked with their program probably the last 10 years or so now, spring, summer, fall. And then I've done a lot of team youth association training in the winter. So if my internet goes out here, I just got a little notification. So if I get a bump here, just letting you guys know, I think I should be fine. But so training from all the way back. And then this last kind of 6 months to a year or two, I've teamed up with Annie and then Josh, who's I think a Heat alum and does a lot of Heat stuff as well. So teamed up with those two kind of to create Midwest Basketball Training. Kind of just really just to formalize what we're doing. We're already doing a lot of this stuff, but to get a website, get a logo, and just try to kind of build this and try to find some of the top players or trainers, excuse me, around and kind of build a team of resources where I was kind of had a full schedule. I was at capacity. So, hey, who else can we team up with? So super excited to team up with those two and kind of that's how we got started.
Give me a second here, guys. Give me a second.
Yep.
All right, sorry, we got people walking all around the house, so pardon me here. But no, that's really awesome to hear, Pat. And when you're in this industry, when you're in the sports industry, the question that always gets asked is, "What's your why? Why have this passion?" I know you talked about starting with personal training when you were young, when you were 16, when you were still in high school. That could have led you anywhere else. You could have been a basketball coach. You could have worked on the management side of basketball. You stuck with basketball training, with personal training. Why?
It's a great question. So I've always, obviously, like most people, been passionate about basketball and really fell in love with it probably my freshman year of high school. But it's kind of two pieces for me, basketball and the entrepreneurship side. So I'm double majored in entrepreneurship and sports management in college. So I love the entrepreneurship piece of it. And then obviously the hoops. When I was growing up, I never had a trainer. I still don't think, even though it's my job, I don't yes, a trainer can be helpful, but you can do a lot of stuff on your own. But I just want to be there for the kid like me growing up. I never had a trainer, never really had a mentor or a ton of great basketball friends that, hey, just, hey, this is the path you got to go. So I had a lot of road bumps, a lot of ups, lots of downs. So through those downs, I want to try to be there for the kids like myself when I was there, just to keep people. Hey, here's where how good you can be. Here's what you need to be doing. Just kind of be there for the kids that were like myself, who were really roller coaster through high school and college, making good decisions, making bad decisions. Of, hey, how can I be that mentor and kind of lead kids who are in a position like myself from a young age all the way up through the ranks.
No, that's really awesome to hear, and I think that's I don't want to speak for Willie, but there's a lot of similarities in what you guys have done here with Willie starting the Minnesota Heat when he was a freshman in college. So, and you starting kind of your passion for training at an early age. So it's really cool to see what you guys have been able to do, turn your passion into something that's a little bit larger. So, in looking at your training and what you've done, like I said, you've worked with the likes of Brad Davison, McKinley Wright, Theo John. How did you establish the connection with those players to start out? Obviously you've made a name for yourself now, but in the early stages, how did you strike that connection?
For sure. And I've always really enjoyed working with the youth. So actually, that's where 90% of my time is, that fourth through eighth graders. So Theo happened to be my neighbor. So we grew up in the same
Okay.
neighborhood. So when he was in seventh grade, I think we started working together in the backyard, just on basic one-on-one stuff with him. And throughout the years with Midwest 3-on-3, obviously, that puts me in a gym every Sunday night in front of 400 to 800 kids. So getting to referee their games, site direct, see kids in the gym, encourage them, build relationships that way. So really just building relationships with kids at a young age. And some of them happen to be Division I players, and most of them don't.
Right.
And either way, just how can we maximize their potential and really find the kids that really want to work hard, and try to, hey, here's a couple of things that you can be doing. And obviously McKinley, with being a Champlin kid, that relationship there. And then Brad, just not till the last couple of years, his parents did a wonderful job with him. He spent hours and hours and hours and hours with his parents growing up. I don't think, and his high school coaches as well. So just the last couple of years with that relationship. So again, just again, basketball, it's everybody knows everybody. So it's just kind of building those relationships with the kids at the young age, and finding kids that you vibe well with, that really want to work, and kind of going from there.
Yeah. So, when we talk about those guys, Davison, Wright, John, in working a lot with them, what are some of the things that you see in common between all three? Like, what makes them such great basketball players?
For sure. For sure. Great question. And there's not just those three. I got a lot of girls on the girls' side, so I want
Right.
to make sure
Sure.
that shout out, and all the other people who are playing Division I, Division II, or Division III, any college or even high school players. I think it comes down to the consistency piece, right? So we don't work on anything crazy, especially with like in Brad's system, for example, with Wisconsin. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry what his role is, and the things that he should and shouldn't be doing. So a lot of those players, it's really just mastering the basics, but it's the consistency and level of play that they do it at. So I think a lot of kids want to work hard when they want to work. I mean, with Theo growing up, it was 6 a.m. workouts 4 or 5 days a week getting up to the high school. He would skip high school football games knowing that he could sneak into the gym and get some work in. So all the kids would be at the high school football games. He would sneak into the gym and get shots up for that extra 90 minutes. So he really dedicated himself his last couple of years of high school. So I think that it's really, you don't need, it's Mikins, it's shooting off the catch. It's a lot of basic stuff, but it's the consistency and level of commitment of taking care of their sleep, their nutrition, and then the time commitment of, I'm going to dive in 6-7 days a week and do this instead of when I want to do it.
No, I love that you mentioned the mic and drill, because that was a drill I did when I was playing for Willie when I was in like seventh and eighth grade. So what was that, 15 years ago? And it's crazy now because we live in the Twitter world where everything is on social media. You see a lot of these trainers, a lot of coaches that incorporate a lot of gimmicks onto their drills, and you you see the merit, but you also wonder, like, is it all for show? You know, is it all
For
for
sure.
show? Is it actually accomplishing what it's supposed to? So, yeah, I mean, where do you kind of stand with that? Like, do you use a lot of props, or I don't want to say props, but do you use a lot of equipments when you train these guys and
For sure.
girls?
No, when I first started, I was more into that stuff for the tennis. Like I think you got to find that balance of keeping things fun and mixing it up, and then knowing your player that you're working with, knowing their coach, what their system is, and what their role is. So I get it to a certain extent with some of the stuff, but I mean, when you see some stuff, it's like how often are you actually using that in a game where you're better off shooting 500 shots at just catch and shoot shots, which can bore a lot of kids. So you can't get bored with the basics. I get it that you got to mix it up from time to time in stuff like that. So I'll never throw anybody under the bus. So it's how a game of, it's really just buying into the player, what their role is. If you're a point guard, you handle the ball a lot, you got to be able to do a lot of that stuff. If you're not, it's again at that level, you really got to master your role. So really diving into those 2 or 3 areas, I think can be better than being average at 5 or 6 of them.
Good, man. Hey, those are some great advice, tips for our listeners who, uh, one, either want to be a personal trainer like you, or two, players who essentially want to, or who might someday become, want to be in the shoes of like the Brad Davisons and the other players that you train as well. So, that's that's great advice.
For sure, for sure.
You mentioned your brief stint with the Minnesota Timberwolves. What did you do for them? What was the role that you assumed during your
Yep.
time?
So when I was a junior, Jeff Meineke, do you guys know Jeff Meineke at all?
Yeah. Yep.
Like the greatest person of all time. So
Yeah.
he got
Yeah.
me up with the Wolves. So I went to school with his kid. So he got me an opportunity with Mark Madsen in the Timberwolves basketball camps. So those were, I will still go to the grave on this, the greatest basketball camps of all time. He would come with his championship rings. My brother won a signed Tracy McGrady game used jersey. So he would come with all the gear and swag, and all his competitions, it was so great at those camps, all his competitions were not skill based. So he'd have a game where you cross your hands like this and you'd have to clap. So we gave every kid a chance to win, which was so cool. He was the best. He's called a head coach in college now, which is super cool. And obviously he got his championship rings with the Lakers and played with Kobe. So those days were the most fun with Todd Landrum and some of those guys way back in the day. And then I was in their basketball academy department.
Okay.
So I started kind of directing camps, training, and going from there. So I did that for 4 years full time and another 4 or 5 years part time before that.
Yeah, the Minnesota Timberwolves Youth Academy has really made an aggressive push here. In recent years, I think their camps are now pretty much in every pocket of the state you can think of. They're running a camp, especially during those off days in school. And besides from the camps, they are now running events too. So I know they are really trying to tap into like the youth market, which is great to see. I mean, what's a better marketing tool than say, hey, you're participating in something that's Wolves affiliated. So it's really good to see what they're doing there. You mentioned Munich. We've the Minnesota Heat is very close with them, obviously through Willie. So really great stuff they have going on over there.
For sure. Him, Matt Bear, they do a great
Yep.
job. Matt does such a great job connecting with high school coaches, bringing in, my favorite memory there was the play where the pros play. So the youth teams and the high school teams and the Timberwolves shootout.
Yep.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
so many good memories. So they do, and the rest of their team does a better job than I think a lot of the other NBA teams at really connecting at that youth and high school level.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for those guys and what other products and services they have rolling out. So, shifting gears here, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the pandemic, and how it pertains to basketball. Like, how has a pandemic helped hurt? Has it been steady? Like, how has this situation affected your training?
For sure. So we were set to launch our website and everything like that right before this hit. So we were set to launch. We had a group training, so we do spring, summer, small group training. So we had actually our whole calendar set through July, in August, actually, and then this stuff hit. So we flipped gears right when this hit. I was talking to a couple dads, and they're like, "Man, we're so bummed we can't play AU right now, and we can't practice." I'm like, "Well, what if we tried it virtually?" So then that was 7, 8 weeks ago. So we can completely flip gears. So I was working with Josh and Annie up until that point of, hey, we had a good solid plan put together on what we were going to do, similar to years past. And we completely switched gears to the online training. So I did a couple test runs, and we were kind of first to market with this stuff. And I think one of our first views or videos that we did had over 10,000 views. So now right now, everything is virtual. So we have hundreds of kids coming through our program. I think we've seen over 3,000 different kids in the last 7 weeks through the virtual training. So a lot of ball handling and defense so far. So we completely scrapped our plan and just started scratch through Zoom and kind of figured it out on the fly. So that's kind of been our focus these past couple weeks. And we're kind of going month by month at a time now of obviously we'd love to be in the gym like everybody else, but
Yep.
it's great to keep our relationships through the youth associations. We see thousands of kids each year. So to be able to see those kids multiple times per week is awesome, to keep those relationships and really just try to be a bright spot in their day of, hey, this is some type of normal for the kid where it's a set practice. We're still going to work hard. They got homework to do outside of these sessions. So it's been really fun to see these kids, and the feedback that we've received has been extremely positive. So that piece has been a lot of fun here the last month or two.
Yeah, I think, more than anything, what the pandemic has done for everyone in the basketball world, especially in the grassroots level, is it made everyone be more flexible and be creative, think outside of the box. Like I mentioned, for us, for Willie and I, we've been thinking of ways of uh, delivering basketball content to everyone without the actual playing. And, for you, you took basketball training, you took it virtually, which is awesome to see. And signs of a good leader and a good entrepreneur is being able to adapt and make changes on the fly. So kudos to what you guys are doing over at MBT. Right now, is everything done virtually? Like, do you guys have any workouts like at parks, whether it be a small group, or is everything just on Zoom?
Right now everything's virtual, so we're going to play it safe with everything going on here. Obviously I think every kid wants to be in the gym and would be in the gym if they could, and we're hoping, I think the first thing to open up in my mind would be that one-on-one training or the no contact training,
Right.
whenever that happens. So we're ready and prepared for when that happens. But right now, everything's been virtually. And then obviously the 3-on-3 piece, that's actually my full-time job. So like everybody else, I mean, we had 10 or 11 spring leagues going a night right now, every Sunday night, with thousands of kids coming through. So that's put on hold. Working with Mike and Christy, who are my bosses there, on kind of some plans for the future and what that looks like, because we had 400 to 800 kids coming through a gym all at the same time. So something like that obviously is greatly affected. So we're putting together some alternative plans, and hopeful that at some point we can get back here. But like everybody else, it's a waiting game, and ultimately with the number of people affected and stuff, we want to do it the right way and make sure things are safe, and we get the green light before we come back.
I think I resonated a lot when you said you want to do it safely. I think that's the biggest piece with this, is as much as us us basketball or organizations, basketball leaders, as much as we want to get back on the court, we can't put kids' lives at risk. And it's not just those kids; it's who they will be in contact with after those basketball games. Not to mention the refs, the fans, the the scoreboard workers, the admissions workers. There's a plethora of people that can be affected by this. So kudos to everyone. And it's not just you, it's not just Willie and I, it's everyone in this industry. The likes of the Comets and Chris Lewis, Kruger and Select, Jeremy Miller and D1, and even Prep Hoops guys and Nick Carroll. They aired on the side of safety. It shows, it speaks to how much they truly care about the youth basketball community here in Minnesota. So we're lucky to be in the market that we're in, that we have passionate people that truly care for the betterment of the kids.
For sure. And the other cool piece of this, a lot of the trainers and other programs, there's so much cool content online being produced for free for the kids nowadays. I mean, you have no excuse not to get better, where you can hop on Twitter, follow 5 different trainers, and really, if you're motivated, watch the video, go do it. Watch the video, go. I mean, there's new content out there all the time, thanks to people like yourself. And make sure to check out the Heat website. I know you guys have posted some stuff there, which is awesome. So, I mean, as a kid, what else could you ask for?
Right.
If you're stuck inside, there's really no excuse not to get better. I know everyone wants to play games. I get it. I want to be in the gym more than anybody else, and we're hopeful to be back soon. But in the meantime, hey, let's control what we can control, and continue just to get 1% better every day from a coaching aspect, and from a player aspect as well.
How much of your life have you gotten back not being stuck in a gym like every Sunday running those 3-on-3 league games?
So yeah, I miss it. I'm here. This is my little studio here. So I'm live in session. We got 30 to 32 hours a week on court right now. And then another probably 20 to 30 behind the scenes, just to plan these workouts and stuff. So I haven't seen my family much. A lot. We just moved too.
Okay.
I got 2 little ones, and my wife's an absolute saint the last 7-8 weeks here, as we get this thing off the ground. So it's really kept my mind off things. Really, I'm just, hey, how can we improve? I got about 4 or 5 things that we haven't been able to get to yet, but I'm always, hey, what can we do to improve? What else? Trying to listen, survey, what do the kids want? So we're rolling out some shooting, some post play stuff here the next couple of weeks. So looking forward to that. So it's really, I know a lot of people have slowed down. It's probably been the complete opposite so far. Eventually, I'd love to slow down a little bit, but for the kids, and I love what I do, and I think Josh and Annie are very similar. So we've had a blast, but are looking forward to when we can get back in the gym.
Yeah. So, and talking about the training, what kind of format do you guys have? I know you guys offer some small group, like team sessions. What other formats do you guys offer here?
For sure. So we are hooked in with, I think, 12 or 13 youth associations right now. So training all of the kids in their groups. So we kind of have an intermediate and advanced option for a lot of those groups. So those are twice a week. And then we offer about 10 different classes. So a basics class, intermediate class, advanced class for high school kids. And then we have some footwork classes, some triple threat classes, 2-ball classes, just kind of keeping it fun and mixing it up for the kids. So really, we're trying to meet every kid where we're at. We have a ton of middle school kids in our programs, and a good chunk of that younger high school group, and then even some college players that hop on to get that sweat in and that cardio in. I think is one of the biggest things with these times, is who's going to be in game shape when we come back to play, and that's really impossible to do without playing games. But adding the defense component in the last couple of weeks here, so that's kind of been our format so far, and looking to expand that here the next couple of weeks.
And what are you guys looking at as far as like your operating times? When do you offer these classes? Your advanced classes, your intermediate. Is there like a time frame in which the kids the kids that are wanting to participate in the future, that they can expect to watch these videos?
Basically 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and we're always live. So we have set classes. You pick the schedule that's best for you. So we have kids joining us. I think we had some kids 8 or 9 sessions this past week with us, so multiple per day. So I think that the average kid has seen us 2 to 3 times a week right now, which is probably more now than when we do our training in person, where it's a lot of 1 to 2 days a week working with different groups. So it's fun to see those kids progress. And I mean, we've been working with a few for 7 or 8 weeks now, and just to see their strides and know that they're practicing. Like if you work with us 1 or 2 days a week, you're not going to get that much better. It's what are you going to do at home? We send out all the recordings, so now the kids can go back and rewatch the workout, go through anything they struggled with. So we really encourage that time away from us. What are you going to do with it, and how are you going to maximize that? And that ultimately is where the improvement comes.
Out of curiosity, what has been the most attended, the number of kids that attended your session, the most number?
Great question. So we do a couple free sessions a week with either Midwest 3-on-3 or just a free session in general. So there we don't cap it. The rest of our sessions are capped just so we can see I can see up to 25 people at a time on a screen. So that gives us a great opportunity. If there's 70, 80, 100, 200 kids, we can't see everybody. And
Right.
Zoom is really cool. I know there's a lot of people doing the Instagram and Facebook, and we do some of that too, but you can't see the kids working out. So now we can, hey, get to know you, get to know your habits, get to know when you're struggling, encourage you, tell you when you're doing it wrong, ask questions before and after, and build those relationships with the kids. So I think a couple of the sessions, the free ones, I think we had on Facebook Live, we've hit over 1,000. But I think anywhere from like that 200 to 500 mark for some of those free ones. Of obviously we can't see all the kids at once, but just providing a fun opportunity to get in a quick sweat with those free ones. So it's been a lot of fun.
Good, man. Hey, like I said, very happy to see the success MBT is having, and you've done plenty for the Heat. You helped us out with our MEA camp, and running that on the west side, and you personally helped me out when I ran that Filipino camp back in December. So big thanks. Happy to see all the blessings that's going your way. Before we wrap up here, I wanted to throw a couple of questions your way just to kind of pick apart your brain, and get to know you a little bit more. One, do you have any like pandemic shows, go-to shows, or a book that you read? Do you have any suggestions for our listeners?
Man, that's a great question. We haven't even turned on our TV here, so I haven't watched a show in a month or two. I love I like kind of the SWATs, the gosh, what are the other shows I watch? I can't even think about it. Chicago PDs, some of that stuff. But I'm huge into podcasts, so I love Gary Vee.
Okay.
So I try to stay up to date with his stuff. Matt Bear from the Wolves got a new podcast, so he's had some fun guests on. So I would check out that podcast.
Willie was on last episode. Willie was on.
Yes, I listened. Yes. That was a great one. Yep. To hear Willie's story of how he started it and grinded it out. So much good stuff. I was going back and forth with him on it. It was fantastic. So the podcast stuff I'm big into, and then the obviously the Last Dance. So that's the one thing we've watched on the computer the last couple Sundays. Episode 7 was my favorite by far. So I don't know what I'm going to do after this week when it's over. I'll go back and watch everyone again, to be honest.
Full disclaimer, I've not watched one episode of The Last Dance. I know it's kind of it's blasphemous, but there is a reason behind the madness. I want to just sit down and take all of them in at once, so all 10 episodes. So I'm gonna wait until the entire thing is done. And 2, I don't know if you noticed, but every Sunday night at about 6 or 7 p.m., the Twitter feed is all Last Dance and everyone giving their own basketball takes. Yep. And, I don't want to watch it and read all the takes and be either infuriated or, just be upset at what someone said about it. So I want to wait until it's done. I'm going to wait until the dust is settled, and then I'm going to go in and watch all of it.
Sure. I'll watch it again with you. I'd love to binge watch it and just go episode to episode. And it's just amazing the access. Being in the NBA, we got to hear some of those stories and be around it a little bit. But it's just, I think it's incredible the access those guys got in those times to be able to tell those stories and see some of the behind the scenes things is pretty neat. So hopefully more of those to come with other players moving. I know they got some footage on Kobe, so I would love. I mean, any of that stuff. Obviously, as a junkie right now, their ratings got to be through the roof, I would think.
Gally, put that down for our next great idea: rewatchables of different basketball videos. So, lastly, Pat, before we send you off, do you have any lasting advice, tips for the listeners out there, whether they be basketball players, whether they be parents, or wannabe trainers in the future? What got you to the spot where you're at?
For sure. I mean, a lot of sacrifices with the social life and the friends and the playing softball and a lot of that stuff that goes unnoticed. I think similar to what Willie said. It's not always easy, but if you love it, you got to love what you do. So it might not be basketball, but find whatever you love to do, and go after it with everything you got. And then ask questions as a player in this time. I think it's really important you can control what you can control. And instead of sitting here thinking every day, feeling sorry for yourself that you can't play AAU, or I mean, a lot of this stuff sucks for kids. I really feel for them. But what can you control every single day, and just kind of set on that of, hey, how can I get better today, and then worry about tomorrow. Eventually, we're going to be back in the gym. Eventually, this is going to go back to normal. I don't know when that's going to be. But hey, control what you can control each and every day, and build off it. And it's a process. It's boring. It's hard. It's challenging. There's going to be days that you don't want to get up and do it. If any trainers or anyone has any advice, my email address is pat@midwest3on3.com. So shoot me a note. I always love helping out, especially young people who are just getting advice, whatever I can do to help them get going. I was in that position not too long ago, and nervous because I knew I wanted to get in basketball, and there's not many full-time basketball jobs out there in the state of Minnesota if you don't coach at the college level. Look around, there's not a lot of full-time opportunities, so we're very blessed for what we do, but would love to encourage and give feedback to any young people that we can.
Well, couldn't have said it any better. So, Pat, thanks again for your time. Always a pleasure talking with you. It's um, you you always have a positive take on a lot of things. So, thanks again for grace. Uh, for your presence tonight. So before we leave, how can kids sign up for your training? Where do they need to go?
For sure. It's midwestbasketballtraining.com, or just shoot me a note. We can get you connected with whatever you need if they want to sign up, or look at a free session or something like that. Shoot me a note, and we'll get you hooked up. So we love the Heat, so we're very thankful for all our relationships with you guys. You guys do things the right way, and from top to bottom, from really everyone else down. It's fun working with great people in the basketball world. And there's so many great people around the state. That's we love working with you guys. So thank you for having me on.
Well, we appreciate it. So, on behalf of my co-host Jared Nelson, who couldn't make it tonight, Matt Gallagher behind the keys, Pat Freeman, thanks again. My name is Josh Presbytero, and that is your episode of the Heatcast. See you guys.